I have a stock Glock trigger, which oops, that's actually the one that I pulled out of this guy. I have a stock Glock trigger, which is funny because you go and you upgrade the trigger on a Glock to something else, but then on this thing you're going to take this trigger out and put the Glock trigger in because even the Glock trigger is better. So I'm going to get set up here. I'm going to show you how you put that trigger in. It's very easy. I'm also, by the way, and the biggest difference is going to be this Lone Wolf Distributors minus connector that I'm also going to run. This one's got the Ghost Ink in it with the Apex trigger shoe. So, okay, here we go. Let me set us up. All right, guys, the workbench is an absolute mess, but so disregard all the extra crap on here. Here we go. We've got a larger hammer, a smaller hammer. You can use whatever hammer you have at home. You just need to control your bang, okay? If all you have is a claw hammer at home, that's fine. You have a ball peen hammer, that's fine. I don't recommend you take like a 2-pound mallet and try and do it, but if it's all you have, be very gentle. Be very gentle, okay? I have an 1/8 inch roll pin punch. Okay, so it's got the little nipple on there. This guy's got multiple roll pins, whereas the Glock just has pins. And then I have a regular Glock takedown tool as well. And let's get right into it. So this is going to be a little awkward with a camera in the way. I don't have a great setup for trying to do this, all right? So just like your Glock, you're going to pull your slide back some. You're going to take the takedown pins down on both sides simultaneously, and then your slide will just pop off. If your trigger is racked, yes, when you do that, you're going to have to press the trigger to get the slide off. If that's the case, or let me rephrase, no matter the case, please verify that the firearm is empty before you start doing anything to it, okay? So we're going to start with the roll pins because they're definitely harder to get out than the trigger pin here. So I'm going to start with the rear. Now I am using one of these little blocks that my buddy 3D printed for me, and it is kind of like an armor's block. You can use a roll of tape, okay? As a matter of fact, I'll show you exactly what I used to do before I ever got tools. You use a roll of tape just like that. You place it on top, and now the pin has somewhere to go. So you can start like so, and you're gonna give it some good whacks because they're really in there. Bear with me, like I said, there's a camera in my way, so it's a little awkward. And that scared the crap out of my dog. Okay, so let's see, the roll pin is out, and it's caught in here. We got one out, okay? Let's do the front one now. Unlike your Glocks, where the locking block is held in here and it pops up, this one is held in at both ends here. Both of these pins are holding your locking block, which is one piece to your rails up front. So your 2 guide rails up here are actually a part of your locking block mechanism as well, okay? So don't try and pry that thing up without taking this pin out as well, all right? It's not gonna work, okay? Matter of fact, I showed you that it works with the tape, guys. I'm gonna go back to using this guy, okay? The thing is, when you're banging down on the tape, a lot of the force you're exerting is getting consumed, we'll say, by the roll of tape. The roll of tape has give, so it just makes it harder, you know? But if you don't have anything, as you saw, it will work. All right, and that's the most important part. Here we go. That one came out a little easier. We're gonna pull the roll pin out, and there's another one. Okay, now this is the easiest one. You don't even need the hammer. You should be able to just push it out, okay? But as you can see, it's really hard to push this out for some reason. Here's my tip for this. Okay, as you start pushing, you're gonna wiggle your slide lock. Move your slide lock. See that? Boom, pins out. Easy peasy. All right. So now you're gonna take your rails and locking block out. And now, as you know, well, of course, your slide lock comes right out as well. And here is your whole trigger assembly. Pop. There it is. Okay, so now we're gonna make the switch. So pay close attention to what you're doing in case, I don't know, you've never done this before and you don't know how to put it back together. It's pretty easy. You're gonna take a look at everything. If you want, snap a picture of it. That way you know what went where and how it was on there. All right, so the first thing is I'm gonna lift this, I'm gonna pull it to the front where it'll slip out sometimes. There we go. So I don't know if you noticed, I'll do it again just to show you what it is. You pull it to the front and then turn it toward yourself. You see how it comes out like that? And then take a look at your spring. How is the spring mounted on this? So if the cross is pointed up, the spring hooks underneath. I don't know if that makes sense to you. Come up with your own way of remembering that, because you're going to need to remember that. All right, so to take this off, you just pull it out the bottom. Boom, like so. All right, now I'm gonna take my Glock one, which I lost for the 3rd time this video. Okay, here's the Glock one. We're gonna put it on exactly, see, cross up, then this goes like so. And before I hook it in place, I do plan on replacing this guy. Let's see, what do I have around here? Here's a flathead. Let's see if we can get it with this. Sometimes they just take a little convincing to come out. Boom, like so. So I pulled this guy out like that. I'm gonna take my minus connector and it's gonna get dropped in the exact same way that I pulled that one out. Okay, pressed in, nice and tight. Now you're gonna reverse the operation. You're gonna turn it towards you and then drop it in there, and then boom, you're hooked up. And that's all there is to that. Okay, so now putting it back together is exactly what you did to take it out, but in reverse. Who would have thunk it, right? So that goes in there, trigger goes in here, boom, 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 everything falls into place. Fantastic. Now, I'm not gonna struggle with this camera in the way. So obviously, reverse the steps and you're good to go. Obviously, function test the firearm, make sure that, you know, your trigger is resetting, nothing is sticking. Okay, so I'm gonna reassemble this thing and then I will close this video up. And there it is, guys. It took about maybe 6 minutes to do, you know, fighting this center pin back in. And what I like to do with that is, what I did, I should say, is I look through the hole, I try to line everything up. Obviously, you're trying to line up your slide lock, the spring. Well, the spring's not really a concern. It's not in the way. The locking block will already be sitting on top of it, so you'll have a little tension. So what I did was I held this in place so the spring wasn't trying to push it back this way with my thumb, and then with my pointer, I held down the locking block. Let's see. Okay, that took some tries. Okay, so I held this down with my thumb, you know, holding forward pressure on it so that the holes were all lined up, and I held the locking block down because the spring wants to push the locking block up. It's not tight like the ones on the Glock. It kind of just drops in. So I held this in place and I held this in place. And then I took my pin, or anything you have, like if here's an Allen key, that'll fit in there, you know, the Glock tool, that'll fit in there, although this is much slimmer. So 1/8 inch seemed to work pretty well. I sent it in this way, like that, right? Obviously through this hole that is now filled. I sent it in this way. I kind of got all the holes to line up, and then I slowly pulled it out, held it with my other finger, and, well, I'm looking for a pin that's already in the gun. Then I took the pin and I started following the tip of this through. And I still had to jiggle it around a little bit, but click, 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 it fell all the way in. All right, so it was as simple as that. Now I have a more familiar hated trigger in the gun. And honestly, I'm happy because it feels great with the minus connector in it. So now what we have is this. So you're obviously the safety, right? Which definitely works. As you can see, you cannot pull the trigger without pulling the safety. All right, so again, Gen 3 parts work phenomenal. They work perfectly in these guns. So, okay, safety taken up, we have that much, and then we hit the wall that you know so well from all the Glocks you own, right? And then, well, the typical squish, you know, that is the Glock trigger. I mean, it is. It's just much lighter, and I don't have the silly center hinge, you know, 2010 M&P 9C trigger in there, you know what I mean? So we got both of those out, guys. As I showed you on the other gun, we've got the magazine release button that I now know I love, so I'll be buying that again. I got that on eBay for 20 bucks. I might even link it in the description, although I hate, you know, that's just free advertisement for someone that's really not going to do anything for me. But it will help you guys. So I guess, you know what? We'll link it up. We'll link it. I love it. Okay? It works so good. It works great. It looks good. All right, guys. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it helps someone out. If it helps one person out, it was worthwhile, because I was gonna swap the trigger anyway.